If you're using Agent Studio inside of HighLevel to build yourself AI agents, you've probably come across scenarios where you need to know exactly what's happening in each step, debug, test, and figure out how to make your agent even better so you can use it within your business. Well, today I'm going to show you exactly how you can step-by-step debug all of your conversations with your AI agents in Agent Studio. So we're going to do this with two different agents. One of these gets started by a chat message. This is a VIP onboarding agent, which just collects some information from the user on this sequential node, as we can see here, collecting some information about their time zone, generating some text, and then routing them to the next step to talk with our AI agent to finish the onboarding. And then we have another agent, which is a lead qualifier agent, which goes through a couple of more complex steps using some MCP tools and such in order to learn more about a lead and then decide where they need to go next. I'll show you how each of these will behave inside of our testing environments and how you can use these to build and deploy better agents. Let's go ahead and start with our VIP onboarding agent by clicking test and then typing in our chat or clicking tester agent in order to get it started. So far, this is looking good. We got our first message. And the first thing you can notice whenever you're testing and debugging is this transition button. So you can click this and it will zoom into the exact node which you're using in this step. Now, if we want to view more about the execution timeline, we can click execution timeline and see all of the details about how this agent is running, how long it's taking on each one of these steps, and so on. So we can see the first step was the human saying, hey. The second step was it went through the capture information step. We can see what its response was, its latency, and then if it completed or not. We can also see the exact step by clicking step 1 to learn more about what this actual step did whenever we performed this. Now, if we go ahead and move on and click UTC, then this will go through the next step, and then we can click execution timeline again in order to see multiple steps. So now we're at the place where we've gone through multiple steps in our workflow, and we can see all of these here on our execution timeline. So on the left-hand side, we can see our step 1. Right here, when we selected our time zone, we can then see information about step 1. Then step 2, it went through our text generation, and we can see all different information like the model, the temperature, latency, etc. We can go to step 3, which is the next step, text generation, and then step 4, which is the AI router, which had no intention and therefore didn't really do anything. Now we can see all these together on our timeline over here on the left-hand side. We can see successful runs, and we can learn more about why each one of these steps happened the way it did. Now let's go over to a little bit more of a complex use case with this lead qualifier agent where we're going over to multiple AI agents. Now, if we start this testing process, even when we start with, let's say, a tag trigger or a form submission trigger or anything like that, we're still able to talk with it inside of our conversations. So I went ahead and added the tag to our contact to start the agent, and we'll see this go through the first step and get to this triage agent. Again, we can click transition, we'll see the node, we can click execution timeline, we can see the different steps and so on. Now, this is a lead qualifier agent, so we're going to give it some information about what we're trying to do. We're going to say we have a $3,000 to $5,000 budget. We want this project done in 2 weeks. And the main goal is to run email marketing sequences, whatever. So once we send this through, we'll see this goes through our entire triage agent. We'll see that our transition button remains here because we're still on this step, but we can still click execution timeline to see each individual step of this process. And then you'll see that now we have a transition and it goes down the hot lead path. So it moves over to this next section because this is where our lead went in this process. Now we can also click execution timeline to see all of the different tools and such. And I'm actually going to show you what this looks like whenever something breaks or whenever it doesn't work. If you are having problems with any of the steps like MCPs and APIs, because those do complicate building your AI agents, feel free to reach out to HighLevel support and they can help you out in terms of actually making sure that you're connected to your APIs and making sure you're connected to your MCPs correctly. Anyways, whenever we're testing with this system that isn't working, we can put in our test email address and tell it something that I know it can't do. We're saying, please send an email to this address. Now, with the way I have it set up, we aren't going to be able to do that. And now we can see it was unable to do so. But this is really helpful when we're debugging because as you can see, we can click execution timeline and then we can see right here whenever it's invoking different tools. So we can see our latency. We can see this took way longer and then the receive tool didn't work because we didn't have our API set up correctly or whatever we may have set up. And you can see it even retried going through the MCP multiple times. So you'll be able to see while you're debugging in this execution timeline, each one of these steps and what's happening while it's going through this process. And on this last step, we can see step 4. This is the MCP tool. So if we're having an error, we can see MCP returned an error. We can scroll over. We can see it's a 401 error. So this helps with debugging immensely. This is why it's important and why I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you don't have something set up correctly. You can see our exact error was invalid JWT. We can see the IDs for different tools and what it wants to do. So we can get a full debugging log from our AI agent while we're testing this right here inside of these individual steps. So this can all be really helpful for you as you're creating your AI agents inside of Agent Studio. Of course, if you can't figure out how to debug something on your own, you're always welcome to reach out to support or refer to the rest of the help docs. If you have any questions about how to debug agents and how to test things inside of this conversation view specifically, feel free to refer to this help doc or drop a comment on this video. As always, my name is Andrew, and thank you very much for watching.